Let's see. What about now? Hey, everybody. Hopefully I fixed it now. Everybody's blowing up, no sound. Thank you, guys. I changed up my setup here, as you can probably tell. And oh my gosh, my chair is creaking like crazy. I changed my setup here, so I am trying this overlay thing. Thank you guys for tossing this in. Hey, everybody, so good to see you. Avalon, super stoked to see you. Welcome in. Glad to have all you guys. This is awesome. And really excited about this. So obviously, the point of this stream is Oxygen 3.7 has released today officially, and so I'm pretty stoked about that. Hopefully you guys are too. There's a lot of really cool stuff. So we'll briefly talk about that. I wanted to bring up a couple of points, and then we had a pretty cryptic post in the Facebook group from somebody special to the Oxygen community, and so we'll cover that as well. Before I get started, I wanted to mention that this is something I've wanted to do for a while, kind of have like news and sort of update streams and more like discussion focused stuff. So if you guys enjoy this, definitely let me know. And I'm new to this. So obviously, as you saw, I messed up the intro with the mic and whatnot, but here we are. So if you haven't seen it yet, Oxygen 3.7 has officially dropped today, which is pretty exciting. So of course we get CSS Grid. Many of you are probably familiar with that already, especially if you've seen the other videos that I've done. I released one on CSS Grid the day it came out, at least in beta, and or well, I guess it was alpha back then, but it was really exciting, and so I made a video that day, and it feels like forever ago that actually dropped. So Avalon, I'm glad it's not just me, and you're a professional at this. You have a huge audience, so you have more at stake, I guess. But yeah, so 3.7 came out, at least in the alpha state, what feels like forever ago. In fact, I made some notes over here, so I'm going to pull those up real quick. Well, I actually made a note of when it officially released, which is today, which is kind of silly. So that doesn't really help us. But basically wanted to, just walk through what 3.7 means for me, at least, and also for you guys, and then some cool stuff, which I think Ray says, thank you for all the wonderful Oxygen tutorials. You're so welcome. Really appreciate it. Last time I had people donate in the chat, which is pretty amazing. So if you guys are feeling generous, you're welcome to do that, but obviously no pressure. Appreciate it very much. So basically what we have is 3.7 brings us grid and composite elements. Now the composite elements, if you're not familiar, are super cool because what they allow you to do is get updates from Oxygen without actually having an Oxygen release for new elements. So you guys have seen the video on the mega menu that I did. Account dropdown was another one. There's a bunch of them out there, so we can take a look at those. In fact, I have the page pulled up right here. So composite elements obviously is all of these different things, but what's so cool about this to me is that you don't have to wait for a full Oxygen release for them to come out. So that's going to be pretty sweet, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this coming. Now, one thing that's really interesting, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, is it's actually a subscription. So let me see if I can find it. It is, let's see, where is the pricing? I guess it's maybe under the Get It Now tab. I was looking for like a pricing button like there is on every, oh wow, 504 here. So I bet the Oxygen website is getting absolutely hammered right now with people trying to get the latest download. So let's see real quick if I can get to it. I bet Elijah is watching. Let's see. Oh yeah, there he is right there. Elijah says we already have several other new composites in the works. That's super exciting. I figured you guys would have a lot of that coming. So what's really interesting to me about the composite elements is that it's actually a $29 a year add-on. So for all of us prior to 3.7 releasing that bought it, or I guess it was the RC1, you get the composite elements included like they always promised, and then they did tell us that you were going to essentially not get the composite elements included after that date. So what's cool about this to me is hopefully it will silence some of the oh, I can't show you guys. What am I doing? I'm so bad at this. I'm trying to use this new Stream Deck, and how do I share my desktop here? This is what I meant. So this is what I wanted you guys to see. So as you can see on your screen here, basically the composite elements are an annual subscription of $29. So not that bad, but hopefully it will silence some of the critics that were always harping on about Oxygen not having any kind of recurring subscription. How can they possibly sustain themselves? So this is a little bit of silence to them finally. So with that, the composite elements for all of us, like I said before, it's included. And now you're going to have to pay that additional fee. But what that means for me is that, or at least from my perspective, is that they're going to be adding more to this. So clearly this is a popular addition, and they're going to be doing a lot more of this. And with that, the post that I saw in the Facebook group was actually from Lewis. So if you guys aren't familiar, Lewis is the CEO of SoFly, the parent company of Oxygen, and also the parent company of WP All Import. And he was around a lot in the Facebook group and stuff, you know, basically early in the Oxygen 2.0 days. He was really, really kind of the face of everything back then. And then Elijah kind of took over, and then he posted this just a few days ago. So February 19th, so 4 days ago, he says, we're looking to hire a builder element designer. So this is super interesting. And this to me tells me that they're investing heavily in what's going to come in, you know, the future composite element updates. So he wants very specific stuff. And I know just based on the way that he runs his businesses and just kind of the vibe he puts out, he's going to expect the absolute best of the best. And that to me is really fantastic. So I think what we're going to see is a lot of amazing composite elements coming, especially if they're bringing somebody on just to design those. Because it specifically says right here, designing the elements using whatever you want, basically. So Figma, Sketch, etc. And then it says right here, our development team would then turn these elements into HTML and CSS that the users of our website builder could add to their websites. So they're looking for somebody that's exceptional in design, but doesn't necessarily have to have the coding chops to convert that into a functioning piece of code, which is pretty amazing, because if they can come up with the concept, then, you know, the Oxygen team behind the scenes can make that code, you know, turn into a fully functional element. So that to me is insanely exciting, because there's just a million possibilities. So before we go down that rabbit hole, I wanted to quickly mention how long it's taken them to get Oxygen 3.7 out, and that to me also tells there's a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes. So if I pull up my notes real quick here. So Oxygen 3.4 came out July 3rd. So then let's see, just a few weeks later in August, 3.5 came out. And then basically 60 days later in November, 3.6 came out. And then we've been silent now for about 4 months, 4 to 5 months, and 3.7 has come out. So what's so exciting about that to me is that that says that there's a lot of, a lot of stuff coming behind the scenes. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Les says, sounds like a job for Jonathan. I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of stuff coming that I'm going to need to make videos on, and want to make videos on, of course. So that's really exciting. Now, of course, I already mentioned Grid came out. Composite elements have been out for a while. We've kind of played with that, but this is a really interesting post. So I hope you guys are intrigued with this. And I've kind of gone ahead and made a list of some of the things that I feel like we might see in the future. So I went ahead and pulled up some of the most common WordPress themes on ThemeForest to kind of see some of the stuff that they have. And so I was really interested in things like galleries, sliders, things like, especially for WooCommerce, meta information customization. So like if let me pull up something here. I'm going to find like a shop page. So product page, we'll go overview. Oh no, I'm just trying to find something here so we can actually look at this. Yeah, so like this isn't the best looking theme ever, but if we were able to customize more of WooCommerce, like your add to cart and quantity selectors and those sorts of things, like if those become more individual elements or more customizable, that would be pretty cool. That may not end up as a composite element and may just end up as a core addition later on, but the point remains that if they're looking for somebody to design this stuff, I have to suspect it's either going to end up in a design set or composite element or something to that effect. So not really too sure how that would work, but that's just an idea that I had. Product quick view modals is another thing I wrote down. So a bunch of these things from Aveda, I started to look through and think, man, there would be some cool stuff here. So like there was a quick view, I forget where I saw it. I wish I had saved it now. But basically, you know, if you're looking at like a category page, quick view, let's see, where did it go? I know I saw it on this exact website. Oh, there it is right here. So product quick view. So basically, like, you know, you have a little pop-up modal. Maybe that's possible now. I haven't really tried, to be honest. But the idea would be that you could just stick I don't know, maybe like a short code, or maybe have some sort of like pop-up container that would appear on your product archive page, which would be pretty cool. Another thing they could possibly include would be live search. So having like a better search functionality, because right now you either have to use the default WordPress search, which is super basic and super limiting, as many of you know. But if there was some sort of more comprehensive search functionality, like if you could tie it in with a repeater and kind of change your query in connection with that, that might be pretty cool. You can do a lot of stuff with the default WordPress search and the Oxygen repeater, but there are limitations to it. So that was something I was thinking maybe they would do something with search. So we talked about the quick view here, previous and next navigation. So over here on Aveda, if we look at, let's see, next page, this is something that you would see on a lot of popular blogs, but basically you would have like the previous and next pagination for like blog posts or like multi-page articles. I guess that would work as well. But like at the bottom of the blog post, it would say continue reading, or like next up would be maybe like the next oldest post, or maybe the newest post. So something like that would be super cool. Again, some of this stuff has already been achieved and people have used custom code implementations to get this in their sites. But if you could realistically just have that out of the box and it were a composite element, then it's not bloating up core by any means, and you also have that right out of the box. So that would be pretty cool. Now, another one would be tooltips. So I have added this in the Material Design Lite design set that I've released, but that's another set of code that you have to pull from Google. And tooltips would be pretty cool because it allows you a lot of flexibility. These ones right here are super basic. They're just simple tooltips on like a text element. But in the Oxygen implementation, I'm sure they would make it extremely flexible, so you could basically trigger a tooltip on anything and probably make it pop up on anything, which would be pretty cool. I mentioned galleries and sliders. I kind of went quickly over that. What I mean with those is if they added things like better sliders for like product archives. Let me go back over here. I think I saw, or maybe it was on the Flatsim page. Let's see. It was, where was it? I guess I lost it. I was looking for like a product slider that I saw earlier, which basically had multiple products at the bottom of the page after you got to the end. I can't remember exactly where it went, but you know, if you're like on an e-commerce website, you get to the bottom and it says more products like this. Instead of it being like a static 3 blocks, it could, you know, continuously swipe through, which I guess maybe you could do with the dynamic slider right now, but that to me is a little clunky because it uses the swiper.js, which, I mean, it works, but it's a little bit difficult, especially if you're not familiar with the JavaScript like me. It's like possible to piecemeal it together, but it's just not really the most comprehensive thing in the world. So Avalon, I knew you'd be after all these kind of like WooCommerce stuff. So pop-up modal for products would be fantastic, especially if you could do kind of like the quick view compare. You know, you see those in other WordPress themes where you can compare multiple products. If you could have it in a pop-up, or maybe like if you added them to some sort of favorites in a pop-up, and then you could go sort of look at them in one particular spot, that would be really cool. I would love to hear what you guys would be interested in. William says search and filtering. So yeah, that's actually one I didn't think of. So right now you have either Facet WP, which is, you know, it works, but it's a little clunky. And then of course you also have WP Grid Builder. So that one works. It's a fair bit more flexible than Facet WP, and I have a video on that on the channel as well. But I still think there is room for a filtering plugin that works in the Oxygen way. And actually, I guess if it's a composite element, it wouldn't even be a plugin. But I think that would be a really useful addition, would be search and filtering. Let's see, I'm going to look in chat real quick here. So yeah, I am not good at design at all. I am not a designer by any means. So all of you guys that love the design of that website that I did for Avalon, she was the one that designed it. We just turned it into a functioning website for her. So I have to give her all the credit on the design there. So that's a good point, William. He says the additions like Facet WP and Grid Builder in particular are super expensive. So I'm not sure what the technical kind of implementation would look like for a filtering plugin, but based on the fact that Oxygen already has the repeater, which essentially will do the custom query for you, maybe there's a way for them to tie that in. That would be pretty cool. I didn't think about filtering. Now, I think that this release is really interesting because I already mentioned this just briefly, but I want to go back to what I said in terms of the release times. So we saw about 1 month between, well, I guess it's nearly two. So about 2 months, and then August, September, November, so then just shy of 2 months, and then they were quiet for almost 4 months. So there was a pretty big jump. We were seeing about 2 months for every full release, and then it was double that. It was 4 months for 3.7 to come out. So it just makes me wonder, like, what else is going on behind the scenes that we don't know about and never will know about until the day that it's released? I'm really interested to hear, and I think for me personally, I don't know about for all of you, like the reason why there's a lack of WooCommerce content on my channel is just because I don't feel at this point like Oxygen has exactly the right fit of what I need in terms of customization for WooCommerce. Yes, it's totally viable, and you do have a lot more customization than a typical theme, but it just doesn't feel like Oxygen enough to me, if that makes any sense. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but in terms of it being like sort of fully fleshed out in the same way, I don't think I would agree with that. So Avalon's raising her hands in chat. Like, I mean, it's totally viable, but if you're trying to run like a fully featured e-commerce store, it just doesn't quite seem like the perfect solution. Now, with that said, I will cut you guys in on a secret, which is that I'm going to try out a video on creating a Printful WooCommerce store. So Printful is like a drop shipping print service, and I'm going to see if that works and, you know, just play with that a bit. So hopefully you guys would be interested in that video. But yeah, so anyway, let's see what else. So in my notes here, I already mentioned WooCommerce galleries and sliders. Hooks is something that I guess needs to be addressed as well because there's a lot of WooCommerce hooks, but you can already implement those with like code snippets. Better search, product quick. We already looked at that, previous and next. So really, I mean, the possibilities are wide open, and I'm just totally speculating about what they could add in the composite elements library. But to me, that's what's so cool about this is that they're like totally flexible. So we don't have to wait for full releases. Those composite elements will just pop up and we'll just get them one day, which is pretty exciting. So drop in chat what you guys are interested in. I am definitely interested in your input. You know, what do you guys want to see? What do you feel like is missing from Oxygen that would need to be added? Avalon says, you made the dream a reality. You dreamt it. We just pressed the right buttons to make it happen for you. I'm just so happy that it worked. Now, I really find this post so interesting, like from Lewis. J1MTV asks, can we make our own composite elements? I don't think so. I could be mistaken. I'm pretty sure that it's not like a thing that you can tap into necessarily, because it's essentially, from what I understand, composite elements are essentially just a design set. So it's almost like it's a design set that's baked into the add panel so that then the Oxygen team can just add stuff into it and it just automatically populates for you. So there's Elijah in there. He says, nope, I didn't think that was the case. And Elijah, correct me if I'm wrong on that, whether or not it's considered a design set. It's like, I think that it's just basically a design set that's not down there in the design sets tab. Now, one thing I was going to mention, let's see, what happened to my Oxygen install here? So I wanted to go get in Oxygen real quick and take a look at one thing that I don't like about the composite elements, and I wish that there was a control for this too. So this is a bit unrelated to 3.7, but once I get in Oxygen here, I want to show you guys what I'm talking about. So I don't know about for you, but most of the time I click add and I immediately start typing. So text is frustrating because sometimes I just want a regular text element. So if I type in TEX, then text link is right there. So I come over here to click on text, but if I type in the T to finish the word, oh, of course it didn't do it. I'm trying to get it to basically swap spots. TEXT. Why is it not doing it now? It's making me a liar. So often I go to type text and then I go to click what I think is the proper one, the text, and it switches to text element. But anyway, the more specific example that I'm after here is with the composite elements. If I type in RE, oh, I don't have composite elements. What am I doing here? Oh, yeah. Short code. Well, I gotta go activate my license. I'm gonna take my Oxygen window over here real quick so I can get my license. As always, I love you guys, but I don't want to share my license even though it's unlimited. All right, so download, Oxygen settings. I might actually already have the license on this screen here. Let's go to license, invalid, copy that bad boy, license, submit. All right, so this is a good, test here because I don't think I have to input the composite element library key since I have the license from before, but we will find out here pretty shortly. Waiting for it to load. Come on. There we go. All right. So let me move this back over here, and then I'm gonna go back into Oxygen. So hopefully you guys kind of understand what I'm after here. I am basically just trying to get it to do that like incorrect typing on search. So with the composite elements, hopefully this works. Yeah, there we go. So we have the composite elements now. If I type in RE for repeater, it brings up a review box. I'm like, no, that's not what I wanted. So you guys know me, I go way too fast. So I'm like, RE, boom, review box. Not what I wanted. So then I got to delete that and then, add my repeater. Pretty much the biggest first world problem there could ever be. But I do wish there was a way I could like just drag that over. And I understand it's like sorted in such a way, but I don't quite have that. So Elijah said short code. If I type in short, yeah, so I guess it's short code space makes it change to short code wrapper, but if I just type in like SH, yeah, there we go. So if I type in SH, I want a short code, not a short code wrapper. Anyway, that's my biggest complaint of the day. Hopefully you guys can echo that sentiment and maybe they will configure a way for us to adjust that left-hand sidebar a little bit. That would be great. Andrew mentions hydrogen shortcut. Yes, you're totally right. That's just a habit of mine because even with hydrogen, I still find myself using the add panel and doing things manually just because I've done it for 2 years without hydrogen. So it's a hard habit to break. John says, why is rev before rep not alphabetical? That is a good question. It's also the same thing with like these containers. So if it was alphabetical, I guess you would think it would be columns, then div, and then section. But if you could just reorganize that, that'd be kind of cool. Or like show and hide elements. Like if you're not going to use stuff, maybe you could collapse it into its own panel, something like that. That would be kind of nice. So, I mean, realistically, I've covered all of what I wanted to discuss with 3.7. The main things is that we have CSS Grid officially now, which is amazing. So all of you guys that were waiting, you can definitely put it on your live sites and take advantage of it. Then we also have our composite elements. And then this cryptic post from Lewis I find absolutely fascinating. So if you guys didn't see this, it's really, really interesting to me because, again, like I've already said, I think it's going to bring some pretty fantastic designs. We're going to see some super cool stuff. Obviously, in the Oxygen way, we're pretty much not going to know about it until it already shows up. But I think it will be really, really cool whenever it does come. Now, if you guys want, I can walk through doing CSS Grid on the Oxygen install that we have set up before we close out here. And I guess I might as well just go ahead and do that. So it's been a bit since I've done this. Let me go back over here to WordPress. And we're going to use the FakerPress plugin to install some fake posts. I'm going to toss in 18 of them. And then what we're going to do is use Lorem Pixum as our image provider. Lorem Pixum, and then that'll be good. So we'll just do some of these posts real quick. Get those added to our site, and then we'll play with the CSS Grid. Let's actually go back to Theme Forest real quick and see if we can find like a magazine layout that we can try to replicate. So I did this in a video before, but I wasn't as familiar with Grid back then, and also there was a few less controls at that point. So let's see. I'm just going to open up a few of these guys. And we'll take a look and see if we can find something that looks decent. So this one is an interesting layout. This one is also pretty cool. That one is neat. There's a bunch of them. With the power of CSS Grid means you can pretty much do any of these layouts. Actually, this one's pretty cool. This one is fairly unique. So let's try to replicate this. Now, my images aren't going to be the right size. So J1M asks, what was the speculation? So my speculation is all of the stuff that's about to come in composite elements. So I just rambled off a few things that I would like to see. A lot of WooCommerce related stuff like galleries and sliders, meta info customization, product quick view modal, stuff like that. Then I also mentioned better search. Then previous and next navigation for like your archive templates. So if somebody is, or not your archive templates, your singular post templates, for instance, if somebody's reading a post, they get to the end, then you can add the previous and next buttons to keep them, continuing reading. A lot of that stuff you can already add with custom code, and people have created solutions for it. But if it's baked into Oxygen, I just think that will be really awesome. So what I want to do is recreate this real quick. So we have our posts in there. We have 18 of them. And what I want to do here is just go to like my posts template. I'm just going to call this blog archive. And then I don't really care about the master template. We're just going to go, actually this is going to be our singular post. So we want to go other, blog post index, publish this bad boy, and then open with Oxygen. So we're going to try to replicate that layout. Let's take a look real quick at what they've done. So I'm going to use Hoverify real quick. So inspect this guy and see if there's anything special here. So I imagine this isn't a dynamic layout, to be honest. Probably not. Yeah, I don't think it is. Okay. So moving back over here, let's add in a section. We're going to go to repeater, and then it should pull in our permalink is not available for current post archive. Make sure the parameter has archive for the post is set to true. What did I do wrong? Why did I mess that up? Post. Oh, it's because I checked the post type box. Whoopsie. All right, so update. Edit with that. See, these are the things you guys wouldn't see in a typical video. I would have gone backward, redone that, and edited that part out. But I do have an interest in doing some of this stuff live, so you can kind of see some of the things that I run. What am I doing wrong here? See, even your, whatever. I'm just gonna go custom post. Is this gonna work? Probably not, because the template's messed up. Oh my gosh. So let's just go post, and then I'm gonna take off blog post index. It might be because I don't have a page set in my WordPress settings. And once again, that would be typically not something that you guys would see because I would edit that out. But I have had people tell me a lot of times that they do want to see the mistakes, and that would make me go a bit slower. So sometimes people request that as well. But in any case, here we go. So now in our example, we have basically the featured image, we have the title, and then the minutes read. That would be another thing that would be a composite element. I know that exists in Oxy Extras, the read time component, but again, that could be implemented as a composite element for sure. Also a favorites or read it later. So you can see there, read it later is kind of interesting. That would be a cool one to have. I have been considering what to do for favorites for a long time. There's one plugin out there that is super basic, but it does work. But if it was implemented in the Oxygen way, I keep saying that, I think it would be really, really cool. All right, so anyway, let's move over here, and we're going to add in, let's just use a div as our background. So we're gonna go featured image. Size will be large. And then let's see how tall these are. So Hoverify, inspect. So it's 370 tall. So let's just use like a minimum height for now. So min height is going to be 370. And then it was like 240 or something, I think. Oh, not height. Minimum width was like 240, I believe. 275. So we'll do that. So 275. And then for some reason, that background image didn't pull in our featured image. Maybe this particular post doesn't have one. Yeah, William, I think I saw that Alex would be the one applying to that. That would be pretty cool. The plugin I'm using for inspect is called Hoverify. So if you go look on my channel, there's another video on that where I walk you through a specific tour on that. And It's pretty cool. It's got a lot of really, really cool features. So I won't go into that now, but it does basically make a better version of the Chrome Inspect tool. Really, really flexible and has a lot of cool stuff. So what I'm going to do here, for whatever reason, my template is not quite working the way I want it to. I'm going to actually just switch over to a page, and that way I can sort of reliably set up this repeater. I don't know exactly why it's not working, and I don't want to keep you guys waiting, watching essentially nothing. So let's delete this section. We're going to go section and repeater. And then let's set this query to post. We have our post. There we go. I think we're onto something now. So I'm going to go div, set the background to the featured image here. Is this going to work now? Yes, it is. All right, so now we go. Taylor, what's up, dude? Happy to see you guys here. All right, so we're going to set this div to min height of, I forget what it was now, 340 and 270 is what I'm going to do. And, oh, maybe I need to do it on that image. Min height, 370, 240. And then let's go to background. We're going to set it to cover, and we're going to go left 50, top 50. And then here in the example, we have basically a small, like vertical 2, a super wide one. So what is this going to be, like 1, 2, 3 rows basically? So let's go to repeater, grid layout, enable grid. We're going to go to column count. I think that's going to be a 4 wide column count, like that, right? Yep, I think so. And then minimum width is already set. Gap is 20. Let's bring that down to like 5. And then our gap here, we're also going to do 5. The composite element library keys should be in your Oxygen account, I would believe. I don't know. Hopefully Elijah's still here and he can shed some light on that. So now what we're going to do is for our child span here, that one is going to be 1, 1. And then our third one here, we're going to go column span of 2. And then I think we want row span of 2. Elijah says, yeah, you don't need a key if you got composite elements for free. So that would basically be before release candidate 1 dropped, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me on that too. So then this bottom one there, we have that as basically a 2 wide guy. So column span would be 2. And then let's see. So our third div there, how do we make that guy wider? I guess I need to change my widths here from defined to like 100%. So width would be 100%. And I need to do the same thing on my background div here. I guess I don't actually need a background div in this case because we have that overlay. So let's go 100. And then minimum height, we do need to keep that, so like 240. So minimum height 240, that's too small. 370 I think is more like what it was. And then maybe these are actually going to be a row of 2, and this one is going to be 1. So let's go back to our repeater, our grid layout here. This guy is going to be row span of 1. These ones are going to be 2, I believe. So this isn't exactly it. Row span of 1. Let's see. Anthony says, I have agency license. Where do I get composite license? So I need to deactivate and reactivate. Honestly, not entirely sure. Elijah said, yes, anyone with agency equivalent license prior to February 12th gets composite elements when they activate their license normally. Yeah. So for me, all I had to do was stick my Oxygen license key in. I left the composite blank, and then composite shows up, which is perfect. So Taylor says, working on a custom favorites events dashboard system using ACF. That is sweet. Events is something I get asked about all the time. Ray says, I would like toolset repeater support to the level that the ACF repeater has. Yeah, there's quite a few people out there that ask for toolset, but I don't really know all that much about it. I've never spent any time with it just because ACF works so well. Now, do I need to take off the minimum height? And then how would I define the height? Maybe you would have to do it based on your image? So here, those are too high. Do we need to set a minimum height of whatever this is? So like 190 minimum height. And then how do I make those two taller? I guess I could use the grid here, and we can go, will row span 3 do anything? Row span 3. And then that one would be row span 3. Oh, that basically achieved the same thing. So the problem here is that I need these to be taller. So do you have to use CSS for that? Or am I just doing this wrong? A bunch of chat going on here about pods and toolset and ACF. There isn't any integration with pods or toolset as far as I'm aware. Andrew says, I'm doing some interesting things with your restaurant menu repeater. Wonder how grid could be utilized. Yeah, you could make some interesting layouts with pretty much anything with grid. That restaurant menu video I've been meaning to update for a while because I think it would be cool if it was like, if it looked better. So I need to go back and redo that. John says, make the first two too high. The third one is 3. Yep, I think you're right. Let me go back here. 2, 2, and 3. And then that one, the row span of 3. First 2 photo column and last one 1. I'm getting some help here in chat. I don't quite understand. Shibu says first 2 and then column 3 and last one 1. Sorry, don't know what that means. I don't quite understand. I'm definitely interested in what I'm doing wrong though, because like what I want, oh, maybe I need to change this height to 100% instead of a minimum height. That's my problem, I bet. Yeah, yep. There we go. So then, do I still need a minimum height? I think I do. So minimum height of 240. There we go. There we go. Closer. Yep. So, well, actually, no, we're not. We're a bit closer, I guess. Hey Stratos, good to see you, man. Shiba says first 2 photo column height 3, and then like this. Oh, Elijah says it can be super confusing with an implicit grid. So is that the auto function, Elijah? Explicit column span and row span. So what if you set using the ratios? Example, use CSS ratio 1:1 for those top left images. Stratos, to answer your question, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to build this layout here and play with CSS Grid more. I thought this one was kind of interesting because we have sort of what I'm considering like a too high, image on the left right here. And then this small one down here is actually, that's the tricky part in this case. So I am open to suggestions. Anybody that can share how to achieve this layout, I am interested to hear. So let's see. All I need to do is get these taller and make this one smaller. So what am I doing wrong? First row, 2 columns. I'm going to delete these a bit because I've confused myself now with all these numbers. So I'm going to go, oops. Yeah, actually, let's reset this. So these 2 are good. This one needs to be a column span of 2, like that. And then it should be a row span of 2. And then this one is a column span of 2. That's almost it, but it needs to be a row span of 1, right? And then wouldn't that mean that this one needs to be a row span of 3, and then these need to be a row span of 2? Oh no, that gets us to exactly the same point. I just don't understand how I can make these two taller and this one basically half of its height. You know? First photo, row span 2. Isn't that it? Isn't that what I have right here? Bigger one is 3. There's a bunch of chat messages here. Maybe reduce rows. Yeah, possibly so. So this is the original Stratos. So I'm envisioning this as basically 3 blocks. Yeah, I feel like it should work. I think this is pretty close to how it should be. So it would be like 1, and then 2, and then 3. So it should be a row span of 3, should it not? Last photo span 1. So here, isn't that what it is? I'm not sure. What am I doing wrong? Elijah! Elijah, come save the day, dude. So it seems like it's just a problem with this one here, because in the back end, oh, is it to do with the fact that I set height at 100%? Well, no, because I have to have that for that right-hand side. Minimum height is 240. 240. Elijah says, I just sent you a demo using explicit. Oh, let's see. Let's see if I can get this pulled up real quick here. I appreciate all you guys chiming in to help. This is pretty cool. Explicit rows is the key here, he says. Oh, all right, so let's take a look at this. So grid set to column count of 4. There's a jet going by, so hopefully you guys can hear me. So explicit row count of 4. Okay. So grid explicit row count of 4, and then let's go back here. So row span of 3, row span of 4, row span 3, row span 3, and that one's 4, and then this one here is column span 2, and then no row span, right? What did I do wrong? So there's no width defined on those. Is it something to do with the fact that I have a width and a height set on these? Set the min height and max height for your rows as well. Oh, so min height 100? What? Set the min and max. Where do I set that, Elijah? Row setting up, min height 100, max 1 from his. Yeah, do like 100 pixels min height and 1 FR max height. 100 pixel min height and 1 FR. Oh, wow, how fancy. Huh. Okay, so now why is it so stretched? What did I do wrong here? Is it my row span? Yay! It only took me, how long has this been? I don't know, 20 minutes more than I anticipated, but it works. You have a lot of elements returned. Oh yeah, I do. So what I just changed my repeater query count to, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what we have, 6. Let's just do that real quick. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is all we need, right? 3, 4, yeah. So let's just change this to post per page 4. And then, yeah, the background images are set to cover. Go back to initial 4x3 layout. And then this one we don't need. I guess that's an extra guy there. The only thing I'm confused about is why it's so tall. Oh, remove my minimum settings. There we go. Wow, how incredible. Yeah, so that does the trick. Isn't that essentially what we have over here? Oh wait, this one? We have that right there. Yep. Yay! How fancy. Fancy, fancy. Okay, so then the only other thing that we would need to make it somewhat realistic is basically some padding. Yeah, that was a community effort, so really appreciate all you guys chiming in there. See, this is the kind of thing that I would have gone through before off camera. I would have basically figured it all out and then gone back and done it again. So appreciate all you guys helping there. Matt, I appreciate you hanging out. I know this is probably like watching a, I don't know, chimp try to repair a car. So the only other thing we have was like the heading. So it's probably, I guess it was probably like, I don't know, H2 or something. And then it was white and obviously way, way smaller than that. So then we would go 20 pixels and make this bottom and maybe go center. And then I don't think we need 20 pixels of padding. 25 is too much. Let's go like 8 or something like that. And then insert data, post title, bam. Yeah, I know I have a lot of people, people who say they like watching the live stuff, but it's really interesting because for me personally, I prefer watching like a really polished video, which is why I typically release really polished things. But if you guys like this kind of stuff, I will definitely do more of them. I said way earlier on in the stream that I've been considering setting up a Printful, like drop shipping WooCommerce store. I played around with it a little bit, but haven't done that much with it. But I thought about doing that live. So if you guys want to see that, I will definitely do that. Strato says no center for the title. You are correct. So it is a left align and not center. Now the only other thing is the like heading over here is bigger, and there's also a hover effect. So I don't know exactly how you would stick that in this one there. I'm assuming maybe you could do that with CSS and target like nth child third, right? That would be the way that you do it. So Lyle says, seeing the not so polished stuff helps us know the mistakes as well as avoiding. Yeah, totally. Sometimes it makes it extremely long. Taylor says, merch. You know, I've thought about that, but I don't know. I want to make like a mug and a hat and that kind of stuff. Elijah says, get into that nth child CSS. Jonathan, you're right. Yeah, because I think, can't you realistically use Chrome Inspect and then on that div, you basically could just be like copy selector, and then what does that output for us? Oh no, not quite. I was thinking it would do it for you, but I guess maybe not in this case. What about on the oxygen side? Or have I saved this yet? I wanted to see real quick. Does this spit out the nth selector for you? If I go copy, selector, no, not quite. Look at some of the wacky stuff we did with our easy post preset. Yeah, that's a good place to start. So, the hover effects here, we have just an underline on that heading, which is pretty basic, and then that little favorites thing pops up. So you could basically just have an icon there that has an opacity of 0, and then on hover, it transitions to 100% with that kind of mouse over effect, which is pretty cool. And then this one is essentially the same thing, but just larger. So I think that would just be nth child third, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see. I think I've missed some of this stuff in chat. William says, yeah, it's cool to learn from mistakes as well. You can find the fixes easier. Yep, you're definitely right. I'm into the idea of that. Firefox has the best dev tools for Grid. Yeah, probably so. I would imagine that is the case. So, I don't know if you guys want me to keep going. We can get this hover effect. So if you want me to keep going, let me know. I ain't got nowhere to be. So if you guys want to keep hanging out, we can. I shouldn't be presumptuous because there could totally be some ladies in here. So if you are, if Avalon, if you're still here, do you guys plan on, let's see, Andrew asks Elijah, do you guys plan on bringing back the ability to limit posts on easy posts and not have any pagination, killing me with the requirement to do manual query? Good question. I don't know. I pretty much don't ever use the easy posts. So a bunch of people saying, yes, please, let's keep going. Strata says nonstop 6 more hours. You know, I think the longest stream I've done up to this point is exactly 3 hours, and my voice and like my brain are just completely dead after that. So I don't think I could go much longer than 3 hours, but maybe in chunks over the course of a few days. So let's see here. Also, if you guys hear my stomach grumbling, I apologize in advance, but hopefully not. All right, so everybody's saying keep going, so let's do it. Now, what I want to do is this hover effect. So this is just, looks like a 1 pixel hover. We have that icon that changes to the gold. Let's use Hoverify real quick to figure out what color that's switching to. So if I use Hoverify, I can just copy this gold color. Elijah says live food review, get lunch and create content. Quite honestly, I certainly could, because I usually walk to the kitchen and I come back and sit right back down and I'm like one-handed trying to like type and move the mouse and stuff. All right, so they're calling this the bookmark class, which is a pretty good idea. And then let me look at this heading here. So on hover, it says it changes on hover, which it definitely doesn't. So I'm going to ignore that. And then we'll just go back over here to our heading. The font isn't the same, but that's okay. So let's see. Navi says, sometimes I have needed to use the easy post over the repeater because isotope doesn't really play as nice with the repeater. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so what we're going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to add a class called PS Transition, which we don't really need to add a class in this case because it's the repeater, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So we're going to go to Effect. Transition will be 0.2, ease in, out. Actually, yes, we do need to add a class because we're going to have that same transition effect for the border and also on that icon. So what we're going to do now is on the heading, we're going to go to hover border, bottom, we're going to set it to white, 1 pixel solid. And then in this case, this heading has a taller line height. So if we just set that to 1, it's going to compress it to be a lot closer to the actual bottom of the text, kind of like it is in the example. Strata says, have you tested the composite elements yet? I've played with them quite a bit. I don't know if you're referring to me or somebody else in chat, but I have played with them a decent bit. Does repeater still have the problem with pagination? I switched to easy post because of that. Good question. I don't know. I don't think it's that bad if it does have a problem. So now what I'm going to do is on my heading here, I'm going to wrap this guy with a div, and then our icon. I don't remember exactly what it was. There's another example of when you're typing something that used to be really quick. I would go IC and hit enter, and then the icon button is now in the way instead of the actual icon element. So small little annoyance there, not that big of a deal. Set this to white. We're going to make it super small, and then I'm assuming it's called like favorite. What would that thing be called? What is it over here? I forget. I set it and then I forgot. Bookmark? There it is. Bookmark. All right. So then we'll set this div to horizontal, middle align. For some reason it's super tall. What did I do wrong? Why has it got that crazy hover effect? I wonder if it does it on the front end. Let's go see. Oh, I bet I set the line height on the heading on the hover state. I sure did. So get rid of the line height on the hover state and put it back on the original side. Whoopsie daisy. So there we go. Now we have that effect. And then I also need to go back to the original state, and I'm going to set the border to white. Oh, not on all. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. We're going to go to bottom, white, set that to 1 and solid. So we don't have that jump, or sorry, not white. We're going to set it to 0% opacity white. So we don't have that jump effect. So now the border will pop up and our heading won't jump by 1 pixel like that. So then I think our icon is still way bigger than it is on the example. We're going to set it to like 15 pixels. What is it actually on this one here? It's 12. So kind of small, and then it's got a padding on the left side of 2. So icon padding 2, and then it looks like there's a slight bit of line height underneath that. There's like a little bit of spacing. It's just ever so slightly off, but maybe it's because of that border. So I'm going to set a bottom opaque border of 1. I don't know if this is going to work, but it should make it line up. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's about good. All right. So then what else happens on hover? So we have the icon doesn't appear until you hover in that whole div, or somewhere, actually this entire div. That's pretty interesting. So what we're going to need to do is take this icon, go fancy icon. I'm going to stick in a code block. We're going to go, well, basically let's stick our icon selector in there. And then we're going to go to, let's see, our repeater, go to dynamic list. So dynamic list, and then I am not the greatest with CSS, so I apologize in advance if I'm doing this wrong. So fancy icon, it's going to be hover, I believe, and then color will be white, right? Like that. Is this going to work? Oh, if I spell hover correctly, that would help. So then we need to go to our icon, and we're going to set this on the original state to effects. Opacity will be 0, and then I'm going to add our transition class, so PS transition. And then, nope, I am wrong. What did I do? Is it that guy? I always have to do this. I'm such a noob, and you guys are watching it in real time. Do I have to add a class to it? Oops. Dynamic list, hover, or else do I need to do the other div? I hate this. I hate when I get this stuff wrong. It makes me so upset. Both must be ID. Isn't that what they are? You have to add the, oh, right. You guys are right. Opacity. Is it just opacity? I don't actually know what the CSS class for that is. You guys are watching me straight noob out here. Take the div that's inside the repeater. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was going to work because I guess it's the same ID, so it's not going to matter. You need to use blank for the ID. That's what I thought. There we go. There we go. Okay. Cool. I wasn't sure. I thought you used that one for the first one for the ID, but not the second one. I didn't think that mattered all that much. Okay. So let me go ahead and comment out this PHP here. Sometimes people think I'm a wizard, but I'm totally not. I just fumble around on the keyboard until stuff happens that I want. So there we go. There is that hover effect, which is only going to happen when you put, well, I say only, it's going to happen everywhere you put your mouse on that. But the problem with that is in this example, it only happens when you hover over that specific div. So is that going to be a limitation of the repeater since it duplicates the ID? Yeah, Pedro says when you're using the ID, you always use the £. The dot is for classes only. That's what I thought, but I was confused. I always have to switch it back and forth because I never remember. You have to take the div inside the repeater. Oh. Yeah, I guess I could just use this div block. Right? Oh wait, it's not going to be that div because it's the entire div. So it's this one. So div block 1312 is our master, as I'm going to call it, and then the CSS here will be that guy. Yep, that looks like it's going to work. So let's save real quick and take a look at the front end. There we go. That's what we wanted. So now it's only going to apply on that specific div whenever you hover over that. Elijah says, it took me longer than I'm proud to admit to remember the difference between the pound and dot when writing CSS. Yeah, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even know any CSS if it weren't for Oxygen. So I'm proud of what I know. J1MTV says, select your parent container and use nth child to target the third child. Yes, definitely. So now on our example, we have that. The only thing that needs to change is on that icon. It needs to go to that goldish color, whatever that is. So this one here, click to copy. We'll go back to our icon, and then on the ID, I'm going to go to hover, and then icon color will be that. So now, is it working? I can't tell. I don't know. And it's not background color. Is that a problem with the... Is that a problem with the icon? Let me change it to something like really crazy. I saw it for a brief second. What's wrong? So hover, icon style. This is a cascade problem. The color on the icon hover here. Are you talking about for this? I don't want the icon to change until later. And I also don't want it to change unless it's hovered directly over the icon. If you add a class to it and then add another pseudo class, use hover.class. Yeah. I'm not sure which, like the div, a class, and another class. I'm confused. Not sure what you guys mean exactly. Like stick a class on the icon. So it would be like icon hover, like this. It's like it works for a brief second. Add the pseudo to the whole card. What pseudo are you talking about, though? If you add a class to it and then add another pseudo class, yes, class on the icon, set opacity. Okay. So effects. Not transition, that's out of habit for sure. Cool, Kevin's gonna make a quick video. All right, so I'm gonna keep going. We need to get the nth third here. Looks like you set up your icon color on your code block. No? Yes, I did, you're right. So if I get rid of that, then oh, yeah, that's all it was. That's all it was. It's just the fact that the icon color was set in the code block. All I needed to do was have the opacity and not the actual color. So that actually works out just fine. So now when I hover over the icon, it's going to take that color that we wanted from earlier, which is not lime green. It was this color, whatever that is, some sort of tan. And I need to get rid of one of those pound signs. So there we go. That's really subtle, but I think we'll be able to see it better on the black. It's super, super light. So I wonder if maybe that icon is a bit thicker. It's definitely more noticeable on these for some reason, unless the color is different. Let's use the little color palette tool and see. I'm going to use this one because it's a bit more visible here. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Not quite as orange. We'll make it a bit more like tan, but I just want to be able to see it. All right, so now if we go back over here, do we have the desired result? No. Oh, Lordy. Oh well, I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm tired of dealing with that particular thing. So now what I want to do is int child third. I'm gonna look that up. So we're gonna take int child will be our pseudo. So then we're gonna take this particular div, I believe, this code block, CSS. All right, nth child, and then is it this div here? Or is it gonna be our dynamic list actually? So nth child 3, and then if we go, let's see, I'm gonna need to target that heading. David says, what tool are you using in the browser for the color picker and inspector? Yeah, it's Hoverify. So there's a video on the channel here. And then should we add a class to this heading? I suspect we might want to. So I'm just going to do that. Or I can just take the ID. I'm just going to try that. So then we'll go font. Oh wait, I also need hover. I believe that's not going to work. Headline. Can you do stacked pseudo classes like that? Because I'm already targeting nth child 3. And then I want it to be on hover. So how do you do that? Font size is going to be, let's just try something crazy like 24 pixels. I don't know if you guys can tell, my voice is getting tired. Nope. Is that selector too high? I'm not exactly sure here. This is kind of a pitiful stream, so I apologize. The CSS stuff here is turning out to be a bit more complicated than I thought. Some of you guys are probably laughing because it's like, you know, supposed to be simple, but I'm not a coder by any means. So dynamic list. Check the video at 5:07. What video? I don't see a link. Maybe it got cut out of chat. If you popped it in chat, I don't think I can see it. Maybe on Facebook or something like that. Let's try this div instead. It reloaded so fast I couldn't even tell. Div block 1312. URLs on chat always without the HTTPS. Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be an easy way to do it. So just drop the beginning part and then I'll be able to get it. So this one has like a lift effect where that stuff pops up. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I just want the font size to be bigger is all. Try adding hover after the heading ID. Selector, nth child 3. Oh, whoops. I accidentally took that off. Nth child 3. Oh, that's interesting. So it thinks that our third one Oh, in the back end, it thinks that our third one is this div right here, but it's actually the third. And then on the front end, it's that one. So 32, make it a bit bigger and more visible here. So yeah, I was curious, Elijah, if you have this selector here, it says nth child, then how do you do the hover effect? Do you have to do like another div? Question mark, question mark? So I at least have roughly what I'm after with the heading over here being bigger, but what we would need is that hover effect, because then you have that transition for all this stuff that appears down below there. Oh, okay, cool. So in this case, I don't actually need the font size to be bigger on hover. What I would need is essentially this, and then hover, and then wouldn't we want, let's see. All right, so once we have that div hovered, then we would have another div that would translate up, right? Like a transition up effect. Also, on our example here, that bottom border looks a bit thicker there. I think it's 2 pixels in that case. So let's go border bottom solid 2 pixels. It might even be 3. It's definitely a bit thicker. Except, why didn't it? Oh, so I need it to go down there. You guys are watching me fumble hardcore. It's kind of embarrassing, but hopefully it's helping somebody out there. I sincerely hope so. So is it headline hover like that? Yep, that's pretty cool. I'm learning something new today. Hopefully you guys are learning as well. So on this, what I just did here was basically just have the border hover increase in thickness here. Can you not just set display block to section that appears on hover when you hover main post div? I don't know. I guess you could probably add in another div, and then could you make that div only appear when the nth child third selector is hovered? So you could basically build your layout like, you know, basically duplicate this. And then what's in our example here? So it's the author and then read time. So I'm just going to go, let's stick in an icon. Well, we actually already have an icon, but I'll just stick in another one. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try. So we'll change this to white real quick, make it 25 pixels, and we'll find a face or a group. People, person. I hate the icon names. They often don't make sense. It's real. I guess it's user. Yeah, user is fine. And then I'm just going to add a text block that's going to say 5-minute read. Now you get to play with not nth child 3, getting in the weeds here. Oh, okay. So Elijah, is this not the way to do it? Because what I was thinking is you could just have this whole div here like be display none, and then use your CSS to then basically show that div when nth child 3 is hovered, right? Or is that not the way to do it? Thank you guys for popping in the icon name. I appreciate that. So, div. All right, so I'm going to try this. And then also we need like a translate up effect, which I'm guessing I'm going to have to do on the hover effect. On the hover class, I mean. Thinking ahead here before I start making a bunch of mistakes. So what was the other thing in the example? So there was author, the read time, and then a read more link. So that's kind of cool. I guess I'll go ahead and stick that in too. So text and then text link. We'll set that to post permalink and then read more, and I'll just do the arrow. I'm going to set this div to width 100%, and then we'll go space between. And then I want this text color to be white. Perfect. All right. So now I'm going to take my div here, go to my code block, and then so div hover, and then we'll go display flex, and then take this div and go layout display none, save, refresh. All right. Roughly, we got to add the layout here. So let's see, we're going to go it'll be layout, flex, and then justify content. So justify content will be space between, and then flex direction will be, I always forget, it's column, C-O-L-U-M-N, and then we want a hover effect. So then I'm just going to stick that class Taylor on this div, yeah? So create a class called transition and have it translate up. I already have a transition class, so I'm going to use PS transition, and then I'm going to go PS translate up as my other class. So effects. Let's see. Text shadow, transform, translate. How do you do the slide up? I forget. Rotate, translate, perspective, scale, box shadow. It's a transform, right? So it's going to go translate X. Yeah, there is an up transition. Where is that? Rotate X. Under transition. There's an up transition. Transform, translate Y. Oh, okay. Translate Y. So what is it going to be, like 25 pixels? 125? I have no idea if this is going to work. X is left and right, Y is up and down, Z is forward and backward. Okay, cool. So that works, but oh, okay, so you might have to set it to 1X and 1Z as well. So that works. It does push it up, but then the content is not visible. So did I just stick it in the wrong spot? I just totally guessed on 125 pixels. I have no idea how high it actually needs to come up. I guess I need to go back to my ID real quick and look at my layout and see where it's going to be, right? Oh, okay. So we need to go back to our translate up class, we're going to switch to effects. And I'm on the right state here, yeah? PS translate up. Transform. I was thinking scale. Oh wait, oh, I see what you're saying. So it's still translate up, but it's going to be, I wish I could see it in the back end. We're so close. It's so close. Do I have to set it to display flex? I already did that though. So maybe my translate Y is messing it up. What is going on here? So if I look on hover, can I actually see it? So hover, it's not working. What am I actually hovering over to activate it? It's anything in that div, but it's still not visible. So just what am I doing wrong here? I feel like it's so close. There's like one tiny little thing. Oh man. Can I see it with hoverify? It's almost like it's not appearing that div properly. It's like not all the way up. Wait, maybe I don't actually need to translate it. Why? Any thoughts here, guys? I am more than welcome to take them. I'm going to get rid of that real quick and just see where I'm at. So it already kind of bumps it up. I wonder, first of all, why is my transition not taking effect? That's what I want to know. Can I go CSS property all? Or I guess maybe I have to add it to that selector. Transition 0.2 ease in out, right? Can I do that? I'm not sure if you're using display none to show hide, but you can't transition that. Oh, okay, well, that's the reason why then. That's exactly what I did. If you try to animate display, I think it's not possible. That's exactly the problem then. Yeah. Unfortunately, that is the problemo. So we'd have to find a different solution for that. Could I just go... what about if I did this? I'm going to go div, go back to our original thing here. So instead of display none, we'll set it to flex, and then can we just use negative margin to push it out? Not 225. We'll go like negative 125, negative 50. This might be kind of a janky way to do this, but it's going to work in my head. So that's what we're going to do. Translate off canvas. Yeah, Taylor, I was thinking using opacity, but wouldn't that leave the spacing there? Because then there's still going to be that block of empty space. It's just like basically changing the visibility of it. So I have negative 90. And then on my translate up, I'm going to go effects, transform, translate Y 90, right? And then 1. Is this going to work? Oh, no, of course not. I was really hoping that would work. So, visibility hidden. So layout, visibility hidden, and then on hover, do you just go visible? Save? No. Unfortunately not. I think you could use max height of 0 and remove that restriction on hover. Oh, that's a good idea. All right, so I guess I would need to do it. Code block is going to be hover div block max height of 0 pixels. And then we would just go this guy again. Garrett says negative margin will work if you have overflow hidden on the container. Gotcha, okay. And then div hover. Can you do like stacked hover effects like that? I guess you can. Andrew says, gotta run for meetings. Fun watching. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. This was way longer and way more in-depth than I anticipated it to be, but I appreciate you hanging out. Can I just change the max height to auto in this case? I don't know if this is going to work. I kind of feel like it's not. So I did something wrong. It's going the wrong direction. I wonder if I kept that translate on the div. I'm going to get rid of that translate up class. So I think I messed that up. I think I messed up the CSS here from earlier. Display flex. Yeah, Elijah, that's something I tell people all the time, that there's so many different ways to solve CSS problems. You have to set the max height to 0 on the element by default. On hover, remove it. So Andre says, go to the div. Amanda, good to see you. Happy to have you here. I'm going to get rid of this and just do it on the div itself. So can I do it this way? You have to set the max height to 0 on the element by default. So max height 0. And then on hover, you go to max height. Is it? I thought there was an unset. Isn't there an unset somewhere? Or can I just go to none? Auto. I'm going to use auto. Nope, can't do that. So do I need to use unset on the CSS then instead of using it actually in Oxygen? I guess probably so. Choose none and type unset. Oh. Wow. There might still be some messed up CSS here. So yeah, for some reason it's just pushing it ever so slightly off the page. So I got to backtrack real quick and figure out what did I do. That's so cool. I didn't know you could do that. You can just choose none and then unset. That's super awesome. Okay, so what did I do here to make that push down to the bottom? Did I use margin somewhere? I forget why it's stuck down there. Oh, maybe it's something in my CSS. Obviously don't need this. What did I do to make this div be stuck down there? Pedro, I'm glad you're learning stuff. This is cool for me too. I haven't really played with something like this in depth, so this is good because quite honestly, if I was trying to film this video, I would have already scrapped it and stopped working on it by now. What if I I just don't understand why it's like way down there off the page. Overflow hidden on this div. Now it's like completely gone. Here's the website URL up here for you guys. Anyone have a good where used tool for Oxygen? I find it difficult to find where something is referenced. Amanda, I'm glad you like it. I was talking about this earlier before you showed up, that I don't typically do it this way because I personally like to watch polished videos, but every once in a while I'm going to start introducing one of these where we're kind of working on it live together. It's so cool to be able to have community help. I appreciate everybody's help on this. So I did overflow hidden, and that didn't quite work because then the hover effect is gone. Oh, the demo you're copying, it's this. tf01.themeruby.com/work. I guess that is something I hadn't considered, is looking at this whole div. Here, I wish there was a way in Hoverify to go like up a step, because what I want is the container that wraps this stuff, but I can't quite get it. So if I go grid, maybe, can I select its container? Overlay holder. So there's the media queries. I'm trying to see. Overlay holder. Those are just the media queries. I'm late to the party, but did you add a translate on the top, on the position to drop it? Maybe I did. We were messing with some stuff earlier. I forget what I did now. Did I accidentally add it as a transform in there? No. Flex direction column, space between display. Marco, yeah, it says I use dev tools until I have a solution, usually instead of clicking in Oxygen and getting confused. Yeah, I usually try to walk backward through what I was working on and try to figure it out from there, but you're right. That would be a more viable solution indeed. Let's try this. So why is this whole div pushed down? Oh, it's the max height of 0. So I'm going to change that. So max height of 0. Instead of using that, I'm going to go negative. Oh, wait, we already tried negative margin. Didn't we? I wonder if I can go can I go absolute bottom and then negative? I don't think that's going to work. That seems like a terrible idea. What about if I set this div to relative? So absolute, let's go negative 75, negative 80, negative 85. Easy Post has this exact effect, by the way, as a template. Oh, you're right. Maybe we can take a look at that here in a second. Now what if I go hover and then I set this to absolute bottom of 0? That's not going to work though, because I don't think it's going to push up the stuff that we want. Like, I don't think that heading is going to go up. Can I add margin on top of this? No, it doesn't work because it's set to absolute. I think this will sort of work. This is a super hack job way to do it. Nope, doesn't work. Crap. That's a good idea, Taylor. I'm going to go steal that Easy Post layout. So there's a grid one by default. That's pretty cool. It's negative bottom margin. Then on hover, you set the margin bottom to 0. Oh, all right. So let me get rid of this garbage that I'm working on here. All right, so You want to remove the child's max height constraint when hovering over the parent. So Taylor's popping in some CSS there. So then I need to put it, I'm going to paste this in just so I have it. And then that's going to go on this div. And then which div block is it? It's this guy. I don't want to get myself confused, so I'm just going to go take this right out of there. So that. And then hopefully some of this other stuff, I'm actually just going to go here to this and completely erase everything we've done just to make it clean and not have any potential side effects here. So save this guy. You can target child classes by hovering over the parent item. Opacity is 0. Oh, so that's actually going to be on the non-hover effect, isn't it? Yeah. And then what is it when you hover? So annoying when this stuff doesn't work out exactly like you want it to. I appreciate everybody helping. I hope this isn't frustrating for you all, because I would have definitely taken a break by now had you all not been here supporting. Do you just go opacity, set that to 1 now? On hover, opacity is going to be 1, and then max height on hover, opacity 1, max height 400. Appreciate your help, Taylor. You're always extremely helpful. Imagine if they had this exact solution as a composite element tomorrow. Elijah's been kind of quiet lately, so he might be working on this as we speak. All right, so we have it. There it is right there. I just have a small problem with my code because I don't have, like, it's appearing on these other ones. So I messed up the pseudo class somewhere. So Taylor, thank you so much, dude. It's a little bit slow because on the example it's much quicker. So I need to change that timing duration, or that timing function, I think. Because there's already a transition here in this CSS. So let's go back to our div. I'm going to take off the transition class, and then so nth child 3 hover. Yeah, there's already that transition there. So let's see. What am I doing wrong to make this div pop up on everything when we only want it on the third one? Because none of the other ones have that except this third one. So I need to go not third, right? And display none it. I think Elijah popped that in chat earlier, unless I already have an equivalent there. Yep, I think it's not nth child to the rescue here. So we're going to take this roughly, except we don't need it on hover. Thank you, sir. Elijah coming in clutch with the not nth child. And then we just basically need to display none in that block, right? Use nth type, not display. Taylor says don't use display none, right? Because you guys were saying earlier we can't apply transitions to that class. Is that correct? I can't remember. I think it's going to affect the other div as well. Is it not? Oh no, that works. So yeah, now it doesn't have that hover effect on the bottom over there, but for this one it does. Yeah, you can use display none as long as you're not transitioning it. Okay, which you're not on everything that's not the third child. Got it. We did it. That is what I call a community effort, y'all. That is awesome. So real quick, I'm going to take off this display none because I want to go back to my div here and set this to horizontal, go middle align, and then space between. And then I'm going to go back to the code block, stick in the display none, tab that in or space it so I'm not a savage, and then make some of this stuff spaced properly because I like it to be consistent. I would come back and fix that. Elijah, I appreciate you saying that commitment because it did cross my mind to stop doing this. Oh. So, I have an issue on the hover. So I set this stuff up earlier, which I guess maybe I duplicated this div. Yeah, I did. So I actually don't need this stuff right here. So save. There we go. So it's kind of slow, but it does work. That is super, super cool. That was a doozy. I'm not going to lie to you guys. That was way, way more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So this effect right here turns out is, I would have never guessed that it would have been that difficult. And that is something that I'm going to save and never try to do manually again. I know, Stratos, my hair is ridiculously long. I haven't had it cut in quite a while. I was getting haircuts like every 6 or 8 weeks prior to COVID. And then after that, I basically stopped getting haircuts. I've had like one in the last year. So anyway, that is roughly our effect from earlier. Granted, the styling is not exactly like it is over here. There's definitely some tweaks to be made, and obviously I don't have the like min red thing, but in terms of it being viable and working, it does work, which is pretty neat. Elijah, I agree. He says, be easier next time you tackle it. That's the best way to practice. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. This is not actually what I intended this stream to turn into, but I'm glad it did because I'll probably end up chopping this and maybe doing it again. Stratos, earlier I was mentioning just all of the big stuff that could come in composite elements. So there's just a million things. The world is Oxygen's oyster at this point with the Oxygen composite elements, and also because of the post that Lewis made in the Facebook group, and then also the fact that the composite elements are paid. It's a paid add-on. To me, that indicates there's some really, really big stuff coming, and I don't know what that looks like just yet, but I think it's going to be really exciting. So just want to say thank you guys to everybody for hanging out. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Hopefully you all enjoyed this Tuesday midday stream. Depending on where you are in the world, it might be much later, it might be much earlier. I appreciate everybody hanging out. Until next time, I want to say thank you as always, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye for now, everybody.